Welcome to Taiwan Hashtag. This is Ross Feingold coming to you from Taipei. On this program, we're going to be bringing an international view to the latest developments here in Taiwan. And the biggest story is the KMT, Kuomintang, or Chinese Nationalist Party, presidential candidate primary, which is beginning today. And we'll talk about how this poll will be conducted and who the candidates are. So let's start with the 5 candidates in the Kuomintang primary. Most well known is Terry Go Taiming, the former chairman of the Foxconn Honhai Technology Components Manufacturing Company. Well known across the world, most notably for their manufacturing of iPhone and other Apple products. A multi-billionaire, a newcomer to politics. Why did he decide to join the primary? Well, he's focusing on his ability to bring more economic growth to Taiwan based on his 40-year successful business career. We should also keep in mind Mr. Go has extensive investments, not only in China, but notably in the United States, where 2 years ago he announced a multi-billion-dollar investment in the state of Wisconsin, which attracted a lot of attention from who? President Donald Trump. And yes, in fact, Mr. Go has met President Trump on numerous occasions to talk about his investments in the United States. So perhaps if Mr. Go does win the primary, we'll be seeing some tweets from his friend President Donald Trump. Next most notable candidate, Mayor of Kaohsiung, Han Kuo-yu. How did he become mayor of Kaohsiung? Big upset in the local elections last November here in Taiwan, where mayors and county commissioners were elected throughout the country. Mayor Han, upset victory over the DPP candidate on the back of enthusiastic support from people who are known in Mandarin as Han fans. Can they propel him to victory in the KMT primary? Well, does he even want to win the nomination? That was a bit of debate over the course of the spring here in Taiwan. Mr. Han was very coy about whether or not he actually wanted to seek the nomination, but eventually he did decide to join the primary, and he has those enthusiastic supporters who might in fact propel him to victory. Next most notable candidate, a man named Eric Chu. Mr. Chu previously was, yes, the candidate for the Kuomintang in a presidential election just 4 years ago. He was the candidate for the Kuomintang against the eventual winner, Tsai Ing-wen, and it was not a close election, but Mr. Chu is trying again. Why is Mr. Chu in the race? Well, not only did he run for president once before, but he has served in numerous government positions. He's been a legislator. He's been a deputy premier. He's been the mayor of New Taipei City, and he's been the county commissioner of Taoyuan County. This is a man with extensive government experience and generally well regarded as an administrator and a nice guy. 2 other candidates in the race. Zhou Siwei, a former county commissioner of what used to be known as Taipei County, now known as New Taipei City, and a professor from Taiwan's most prestigious university, National Taiwan University, named Zhang Yazhong. Mr. Zhang is most notable in this election for his very pro-unificationist views in favor of a closer relationship between Taiwan and China than even the other Kuomintang candidates are seeking. So how will this winner be decided? Very difficult to say because the process is so difficult to understand. So 5 candidates in the race. The first question in this telephone poll will be, who do you prefer among the 5? Next question will be asking for each of those candidates, do you prefer them over Tsai Ing-wen or Mayor Ko Wen-je? Mayor Ko Wen-je hasn't even announced that he's running for president, but the Taipei City mayor is widely expected to do so, although we won't know until later this year. So after asking which of the 5 do you prefer, the person on the telephone from the polling company will ask the respondent, do you prefer Zhu over Tsai or Han? Do you prefer Go over Tsai or Han? Do you prefer Han over... You see, we're all losing track because it's so confusing. In fact, the total number of questions in this poll will be 9 because there'll be questions about age, where do you live in Taiwan, or where you registered to vote, and your educational background. This makes it very difficult for the polling companies to obtain valid samples. Thus, each polling company was given tens of thousands of telephone numbers from the phone book. Is it mobile phones? No, it will only be landlines. No mobile phones will be called, and the people will have to answer all 9 questions in order to have a valid sample. What does this mean for who might win the primary? Well, a lot of people think this might favor Mayor Han of Kaohsiung. Why? Because Mayor Han is widely considered to have the most enthusiastic supporters. Those are the kind of people who might answer all the questions that are asked in order to have a valid sample for the poll. So What does it mean for the other candidates? Well, Mr. Go has been in the polls very close to Han, and he's been doing extensive advertising. He has bus billboards. He has internet ads. Even my mobile phone, I'm getting ads from Mr. Go when I look at various news media websites. He has television advertisements. I even got a phone call on my mobile phone asking me to vote for Mr. Go in the primary, and I don't even have the right to vote because I am not a citizen of Taiwan. So, will Mr. Go be able to use his resources to ensure victory over Mr. Han in the primary? We won't know until when? Until next week, because they're going to be taking these polls for about the next 6 days, and then they will correlate all the data and announce a winner. So we won't know the winner until either next Sunday or Monday here in Taiwan. What about the chances for Mr. Chu? Well, given that Han and Go are polling around the high 20s to the low 30s each, running very close to each other, Mr. Chu in most polls is either in the mid-20s or the high teens, so unfortunately for him, his chances don't look very good. The other two candidates, Zhou Siwei, Zhang Yangzhong, polling in the very low single digits, so very unlikely that they will win. And what about the other candidate who's in this polling questions, the mayor of Taipei City? Or is he not a candidate yet? Rumored to be one. He just came back from China. Why was he there? Let's talk about that. Mayor Ko Wen-je of Taipei City, over the last few days, attended something called the Twin Cities Forum. It's a long-running get-together between the city governments of Shanghai and the city government of Taipei, originally inaugurated under the previous mayor, Han Kuo-yu of the Kuomintang. Who doesn't like this? Well, in recent days, we see a lot of criticism of Mayor Ko for attending this forum from Taiwan's central government. Why? They say that cross-strait policy belongs to the sole authority of the central government, and it's not for mayors to make cross-strait policies. What does Mayor Ko say? He says that this is the only current platform for officials, elected officials in Taiwan, to engage with Chinese officials. Who did he engage with? Not just the mayor of Shanghai, but in fact he met with a man named Liu Jie, who's head of the Taiwan Affairs Office, the chief government agency in China dealing with Taiwan-related matters. So not only is the central government here in Taiwan a little upset with Mayor Ko for attending this event and meeting with Chinese government officials, but also some members of the public are not happy because given recent tensions between Taiwan and China, they don't think it's appropriate for the mayor of Taipei City to be engaging in this kind of dialogue directly with Chinese government officials. What's the pro view? What do people who are comfortable with this say? They say that dialogue is not bad. He is only a municipal leader. He has a responsibility as a mayor to promote his city, to promote exports from the Taipei City area or inbound investments from China or other parts of the world into Taipei City. And engaging in this kind of activity, in fact, is something that even DPP, Democratic Progressive Party members or elected leaders have done when they are in control of various municipalities across Taiwan. How will it impact Mayor Ko's presidential election chances? We don't know that yet because he hasn't even decided that he wants to run for president. However, he is clearly trying to set a separate course for his own China policies that differs from the central government and the DPP, as well as the Kuomintang or KMT. So again, the 5 Kuomintang candidates, they're probably going to be seeking to have better relations with China. The incumbent government at the central government level, President Tsai Ing-wen of the DPP, clearly their China policies are to maintain their past 3 years' policies, not to admit to China's 92 consensus or other formulas that China has been trying to use to engage with Taiwan's government. And where does that leave Mayor Ko? Well, interestingly, his conception of China-Taiwan relations is something that he calls 一家亲. What does that mean in English? It means we're all one family, but basically he's saying we could still be a little separate. We could have our own separate country, but I'm not going to deny that there are long-standing cultural and historic connections between China and Taiwan. Does he have support for that? Well, most polls have him in the mid to high 20s when he is polled against President Tsai Ing-wen as well as a KMT candidate. And again, that is why even the KMT is doing 3-way polling for its 5 candidates against Mayor Ko. And in fact, the DPP did the same thing. their two presidential primary candidates not very long ago, just at the beginning of last month, their primary poll also asked whether or not the public preferred their candidate against Han of Kaohsiung or Mayor Ko of Taipei. So widely expected that Mayor Ko will in fact join the presidential election, but the fallout from his visit to to Shanghai is still being considered by the public as well as by the media. But it's certainly a hot topic right now. And in fact, to show how concerned the central government was about his visit to Shanghai, they're already talking about further changes to the laws that deal with cross-strait relations that would make it more difficult for government officials from Taiwan to visit China and impose additional reporting requirements when they do go or when they do return. And they are now also talking about changing laws to make it a serious crime for people who engage in activities that advocate on behalf of the Chinese government or the Communist Party. So the fallout from Mayor Ko's visit, the fallout from the KMT primary, something to watch over the next week, and we'll have more on that in upcoming episodes of Taiwan Hashtag. Thank you. I'm Ross Feingold.